The bell above the grocery door jingled, and a hush followed. A biker, limping, leather vest torn, carried a bag that looked heavier than his body. People stared, whispering. One young clerk stepped forward. What she did in that moment would ripple far beyond the parking lot. Before we begin, tell us where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Your every comment, gift, and membership helps us bring more heart-touching stories to your life. Maplewood, Oregon, a town where rain tapped roofs more than sunshine kissed sidewalks. Inside Rizzo's grocery, fluorescent lights hummed above stacked shelves. Claire Miller, 28, worked the evening shift. Her uniform polo clung with sweat, hair tied back, sneakers worn thin. She smiled at customers with tired kindness. Life had never given Claire an easy ride. A single mom raising her 6-year-old daughter, she lived paycheck to paycheck, bills stacked like bricks. Yet every day she showed up, scanning items, bagging groceries, wiping conveyor belts. To most, she was invisible, the girl behind the counter. But Claire carried a quiet strength, the kind built from carrying more than she could afford to drop. She didn't know tonight would test it. She didn't know one small act, lifting a stranger's burden, would change her life forever. The bell above the door chimed again. A hush spread. A man walked in, boots heavy, a leather vest with faded patches clinging to his frame. His beard was tangled, and his left arm hung stiff, wrapped in bandages. A biker. He moved slow, like every step burned. Whispers rippled through the store, half fear, half curiosity. Claire noticed how his jaw tightened as he tried to balance milk, bread, and cans in one arm. He winced when a bag slipped, nearly crashing to the floor. No one moved. Customers watched but didn't step forward. Claire left her register. She bent quickly, scooping the bag before it burst. Their eyes met, his wary, hers steady. "Let me help," she said softly. The biker paused, as if kindness was rarer than pain. Then he nodded, voice gravel low. "Thank you." Together they walked toward the parking lot. She didn't know this walk would echo louder than thunder. Rain drizzled on the parking lot. The biker's motorcycle leaned near the curb, chrome dulled by dirt, saddlebags patched with duct tape. Claire carried groceries beside him, watching his limp grow heavier. He set the bags down with a sigh, struggling to steady his bike. Claire spoke gently. "Should you even be walking like that?" He chuckled bitterly. "Doctor says no. Life says yes." She tilted her head. "No one helping you?" His silence was answer enough. Claire adjusted the bags, placing them carefully in his saddlebag. "There," she said, wiping her hands. The biker straightened, wincing, then looked at her with something between disbelief and gratitude. "Name's Ray," he murmured. "Most people cross the street when they see me." Claire shrugged. "Most people don't know what tiredness looks like." "I do." For the first time in hours, Ray smiled, a small, weary smile. Then he revved his engine and disappeared into the rain. Claire didn't think of it again. Her life left little room for extra thoughts. After her shift, she rode the bus home, groceries of her own balanced on her lap. Her daughter Lily greeted her at the door, pigtails bouncing, crayons scattered across the floor. Claire hugged her tight, inhaling the faint scent of crayons and peanut butter. This was her reason. Every day, bills loomed, rent overdue, shoes too small on Lily's feet. But Claire kept walking. At the grocery store, co-workers teased her about helping the scary biker. One sneered, "Careful, Claire, those guys aren't angels." She smiled faintly, not answering. What they didn't know, sometimes the scariest-looking people carried the deepest pain, and sometimes they needed help the most. That night she lay in bed, exhaustion pulling at her bones, unaware that her small kindness had lit a fuse that would blaze into her life with roaring engines. 3 days later, Claire's shift was steady as always. She scanned boxes, bagged produce, counted change. Then, just as dusk painted the sky, the hum of engines rolled in. Not one, not two, dozens. The parking lot trembled. Customers turned, pressing against windows as motorcycles filled every space. Jackets black, scarred, patched with a name feared Hell's Angels. Claire froze, breath snagging. The doors opened, and they walked in, leather creaking, boots striking tiles. Shoppers gasped, stepping aside. At their center was Ray, bandaged arm still stiff but eyes softer than before. He pointed toward Claire at Register 3. Her hands shook as the men approached, filling the aisles with their presence. Then Ray spoke loud enough for the store to hear. "This woman carried my groceries when I couldn't. Now it's our turn." The angels dropped carts, began filling them. Meat, milk, fruit, bread, aisles emptied into their baskets. Claire's world tilted. Whispers crackled through the store. "What are they doing? Why here?" Claire's co-workers huddled, fear sparking in their eyes. But the bikers weren't breaking. They were buying, dozens of them. Each cart rolled toward Claire's register. One after another they unloaded groceries, not just for themselves but for her. Diapers, fresh vegetables, shoes, even a stuffed unicorn Lily had once pointed to, but Claire couldn't afford. Her throat closed. Ray leaned on the counter, voice low but steady. "You helped me when no one else would. We don't forget things like that." She shook her head, overwhelmed. "I don't deserve this." Ray met her gaze, steel and gentleness mingling. "You deserve more than you know." The angels stood behind him, silent guardians, their rough exteriors hiding something unshakable. Gratitude. The store, once judgmental, now watched in stunned silence as a single act of kindness was repaid in a tidal wave. Claire's manager rushed forward, face pale. This is causing a scene," he stammered. Ray turned, his presence cutting like thunder. "Scene? This woman's been holding the world on her shoulders. We're just giving her a lighter load." The manager faltered, retreating. Claire bagged the groceries, tears streaking her cheeks. Cart after cart passed through, receipts crumpling. Customers whispered in awe. A teenage boy recorded on his phone, eyes wide. For once, Claire wasn't invisible. She was seen. Ray pressed cash into her hand, far more than the total. "Keep the change," he said simply. Claire tried to protest, but words tangled in her throat. All she could do was whisper, "Thank you." Outside, the angels packed groceries into her car. The roar of their engines echoed, not as menace but as music. And for the first time in years, Claire felt the weight of her struggle ease. The next morning, Claire woke to find her porch filled with bags. Groceries, fresh fruit, canned goods, even toys for Lily. A note sat atop every week. "You'll never shop alone again." Signed simply, Ray. She sat on the porch steps, hands covering her face, sobbing into the morning light. Lily tugged her sleeve, holding the unicorn from yesterday. "Mommy, are we rich now?" Claire laughed through tears, pulling her daughter close. "Not rich, baby, bless it." True to their word, every week engines rolled into town. Dozens of angels stormed the aisles, buying everything on Claire's list, sometimes more. Neighbors whispered, some in awe, some in judgment. But Claire no longer cared. What had once been her heaviest burden, feeding her child, was now carried on the shoulders of unlikely angels. And with every roar of engines, she felt less alone. Still, kindness draws shadows, too. One evening, as the angels loaded her groceries, a man sneered from across the lot. "You think they're saints? They're criminals." His words sliced the air. Claire froze. Ray turned slowly, walking toward the man, boots deliberate. He didn't raise a hand. He just leaned close and said quietly, "Saints or not, she's under our care. That means she's untouchable." The man shrank back, muttering curses, retreating into his car. Ray returned, voice calm as he handed Lily a lollipop. "People will talk, let them. What matters is what we do, not what they think." Claire nodded, eyes stinging. She had been judged her whole life, for being poor, for being a single mom, for not being enough. But here stood men judged more harshly than her, showing her the truest loyalty she had ever known. Weeks stretched into months. Every Saturday, like clockwork, the angels came. Claire began to expect the thunder before she saw them. Lily racing to the window shouting, "Mommy, they're here." They became a fixture in her life, rough laughter filling her kitchen, leather vests draped over chairs as groceries were unpacked. Claire cooked meals she hadn't afforded in years. Roast chicken, pasta with fresh herbs, even Lily's first birthday cake topped with real strawberries. One evening, Ray lingered after the others left. His bandages were gone, though his limp remained. He looked at Claire's small house, the paint peeling, the roof sagging. "You carry too much alone," he said. She shrugged. "That's life." He shook his head. "Doesn't have to be." That night, as he rode away, Claire realized the angels weren't just feeding her. They were teaching her. Family wasn't always blood. Sometimes it was leather, scars, and a roar that promised protection. The seasons shifted. Rain gave way to summer sun, yet the ritual remained. Engines rolling, groceries carried, laughter echoing through aisles. Claire noticed how the townsfolk's whispers softened. At first they had judged her, suspicious of the angels. But when children in the neighborhood saw bikers handing out popsicles, when families saw them hauling bags for an exhausted mother, the tone changed. "Maybe they're not what we thought," a neighbor murmured. Still, the grocery manager grumbled. "They're scaring customers," he snapped one Saturday. Ray leaned across the counter, voice low but sharp. "What's scaring people isn't us. It's the truth, that good people are struggling while others just watch." The manager faltered, silenced. Claire stood behind her register, stunned at the way strangers defended her. She had always fought alone. Now she had an army. For the first time in her life, Claire realized she wasn't just surviving. She was being carried, lifted by hands the world never expected. But storms still came. One Friday evening, Claire found an eviction notice taped to her door. "Rent overdue." Her chest tightened, panic flooding. That night she couldn't sleep. She didn't tell Ray when he came by Saturday, ashamed to ask for more. But Lily whispered innocently, "Mr. Ray, are we moving again?" His eyes narrowed. He looked at Claire. She tried to smile, but her lip trembled. Without another word, Ray left. The next morning, the roar of engines thundered earlier than ever. Trucks this time, not just bikes, lumber, shingles, paint cans. The angels swarmed her yard, hammering, sawing, repairing every crack of her tired house. By sunset, the roof was sealed, walls painted, porch fixed. And when Claire opened her mailbox, the eviction notice was gone, replaced with a receipt. Paid in full. She sank to her knees on the grass, tears spilling. Lily clapped her hands, shouting, "Our house is saved." Claire wanted to repay them, but what could she offer men who carried the world like thunder? She baked pies awkwardly, burning the crust. She stitched torn patches on jackets with trembling hands. She made coffee so strong even hardened bikers winced. But they always accepted with grins, never mocking. "This is how family works," Ray said one night, sipping bitter coffee without complaint. "You gave when no one else would. We give back." Claire sat on the porch, Lily asleep inside, stars spilling overhead. "But I only carried groceries," she whispered. Ray shook his head. "No, you carried me." Silence stretched, heavy with meaning. For Claire, it was more than groceries. It was a life turned around by a single act, proof that kindness doesn't vanish. It multiplies. And in that silence she realized the angels weren't rescuing her out of pity. They were honoring her strength, mirroring what she had given. One evening, as summer faded, a storm rolled across Maplewood. Claire stood at her register, lightning flashing through the windows. The door swung open and a stranger staggered in, a drifter, clothes ragged, eyes wild. He slammed a bottle on the counter, snarling at Claire when she asked for ID. Fear coiled in her chest. Customers backed away. The man leaned close, breath sour. "Ring it up or else." Claire froze. Then the ground rumbled. Engines, the doors opened, and the angels walked in, rain dripping from their jackets. The drifter's face strained. He muttered curses, stumbling backward, bottle clutched tight. Ray stepped forward, not raising a hand, only speaking calm and low. "She's not alone." The man fled, disappearing into the storm. Claire's hands shook as she gripped the counter. Ray placed a steady hand on hers. "See? You don't stand alone anymore, ever." Thunder rolled outside, but inside Claire felt safe. The story of the grocery angels spread beyond Maplewood. A reporter caught wind filming their Saturday runs. Cameras captured Claire laughing as leather-clad bikers pushed carts, Lily perched on Ray's shoulders, waving at neighbors. The footage went viral. Headlines read, "Hell's Angels adopt single mom and Brotherhood redefines loyalty." Claire grew nervous under the attention. But Ray brushed it off. People can think what they want. We know the truth. Yet the fame brought more whispers, both praise and doubt. Some insisted it was staged, a cover for darker deeds. Claire stood before microphones, voice steady though her hands shook. "They saved me," she said, "and not just with groceries. They gave me back my dignity." The world blinked, surprised by her courage. But those who watched closely saw it wasn't about the bikers at all. It was about a woman once invisible, now standing tall because others believed she deserved to. Autumn leaves tumbled across the parking lot as Claire loaded groceries into her car. Ray leaned on his bike, watching Lily chase fallen leaves. "You're stronger than you think," he said quietly. She frowned. "I'm just surviving." He shook his head. "No survivors bend. You stand. That's different." His words sank deep. Claire had always seen herself as fragile, one step from breaking. But through the eyes of these unlikely protectors, she began to see something else. A woman who carried burdens without quitting, who offered kindness without asking, who stood even when tired. That evening, she tucked Lily into bed, then stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. For the first time, she saw not just a tired clerk. She saw a mother, a fighter, a woman worth protecting. And in that realization she understood. The angels hadn't changed her. They had simply reminded her of who she already was. Winter brought harsh winds and icy streets. Business slowed, but the Saturday tradition never faltered. Engines still roared, jackets zipped against the cold, boots crunching snow. One night, as Claire closed the register, she found Ray lingering. His limp seemed worse, face pale. "You okay?" she asked. He shrugged. "Old wounds? They remind me I'm alive." She pressed her lips, then whispered, "Why me, Ray? Out of everyone you could have helped. Why me?" He looked at her, eyes lined with storms. "Because you saw me. Not the patches. Not the scars. Me, that don't happen much." Claire blinked back tears. She had thought she was the one saved, but maybe unknowingly she had saved him first. Two broken people, meeting in a grocery aisle, carrying each other in ways no one else understood. She reached across the counter, squeezing his hand. For once, Ray didn't hide the emotion in his eyes. On Christmas Eve, Claire returned home to find her porch glowing with lights. Her tree stood inside her living room, decorated, gifts stacked beneath. Lily squealed, diving toward the boxes. Claire covered her mouth, tears streaming. A note hung on the tree. "Every child deserves magic. Your family on wheels." That night the angels joined them. Leather jackets draped over chairs as carols played faintly on the radio. They laughed, told stories, shared food. Lily opened her unicorn, now dressed in a tiny leather vest sewn just for her. She danced around the room shouting, "I'm an angel too!" Claire sat back watching her daughter glow. For years Christmas had been empty, a night of scraping pennies, apologizing for what she couldn't give. Now her home was full, not of riches but of family. And as Ray raised a toast with his scarred hand, Claire whispered to herself, "This is what miracles look like." Time passed. Seasons changed. Claire no longer feared each bill, each grocery run. She worked fewer overtime shifts, spending evenings with Lily. Evenings filled with laughter instead of exhaustion. The angels still came, their presence steady as heartbeat. Yet Claire grew stronger, bolder. She saved money, enrolled in night classes, and dreamed of opening a bakery someday. One Saturday, Ray placed a hand on her shoulder outside the store. "We won't always be here, Claire, but we don't need to be. You've got wings now." She smiled faintly, tears brimming. "I'll never forget," he nodded. "Good, because neither will we." Engines roared, pulling away. Claire stood in the fading light, Lily's small hand gripping hers. She realized then that true help wasn't meant to last forever. It was meant to remind you of your strength until you could carry it alone. Years later, Claire opened her bakery, Lily's table, its windows glowing warm against the Oregon rain. Customers lined up for her pies, her laughter filling the air. On one wall, framed quietly, was a photograph, her standing outside Rizzo's grocery, surrounded by bikers with leather vests, groceries piled high. People often asked, who are they? Claire would smile softly. Family. Sometimes when the highway hummed, engines thundered past her bakery, never stopping, just roaring into the distance. She would pause, hand over her heart, whispering, "Thank you." Her life had been changed not by wealth, not by luck, but by a single act of carrying another's burden, and the unstoppable wave of kindness it sparked. And as long as engines roared somewhere in the world, Claire knew, angels still rode and kindness still echoed. If this story touched you, remember, every act of kindness plants a seed. What you give may return in ways you never imagined. If you believe in loyalty, hope, and second chances, like this video, subscribe, and press the bell so you never miss the next story.